Have you ever heard the wail of a banshee? That eerie, soul-piercing cry that echoes through the night, stopping you in your tracks and sending a chill down your spine. A sound so mournful and terrifying that it fills the air with the weight of impending doom. Now, imagine this. It's a quiet, dark night in rural Ireland. The wind howls through the trees, and in the distance you hear it. A woman's voice crying in the wind. It's not a natural sound. It's not a sound that should belong to this world. Could it be the Banshee, the legendary Irish spirit who is said to foretell death? This cry, the wail of the Banshee, is one of the most chilling and well-known aspects of Irish folklore. For centuries, tales of this ghostly figure have spread across Ireland, and her mournful wail has become synonymous with the approach of death. But what exactly is a Banshee? What does her cry mean? And why has this spirit haunted the imaginations of the Irish for generations? Is she simply an ominous myth, or is there more to the legend? In this video, we'll take a deep dive into the world of the Banshee, uncovering the chilling truth behind her haunting cry. We will explore her origins in Celtic mythology, the different forms she takes, and the legends and stories that have been passed down through the ages. But we'll also ask a deeper question. What does the Banshee's wail really represent? Why has this spirit become so tied to death? And what can we learn from her story about the nature of life, death, and the unknown? So, get ready to walk with us through the shadowy realms of Irish folklore, where the veil between the living and the dead is thinner than we might imagine. Is it just superstition, or is there something more? Do you dare to discover the chilling secrets behind one of Ireland's most haunting spirits? Let's begin our journey into the world of the Banshee, a spirit of death, a cry in the night, and a warning that has echoed through the hills of Ireland for centuries. To understand the Banshee fully, we must first explore her origins, her place in Irish culture, and the significance of her name. The term Banshee is derived from the Gaelic word bean cedar, which translates to woman of the fairy mound, or woman of the hill. In Celtic mythology, the Side, also spelled cedar, are the supernatural beings who inhabit the otherworld, a mystical realm that exists alongside our own, often unseen and hidden from mortal eyes. The Side include fairies, gods, and spirits, all of whom interact with the living in various ways, but the Banshee, unlike the playful fairies, holds a darker role. The Banshee is often described as a spirit of sorrow and death, linked to specific Irish families, particularly those with noble bloodlines. Her role is not simply to haunt or scare. She's a harbinger of death, a figure whose wail serves as a warning to those about to lose a loved one. In the myths, she's said to appear only for certain families, often those with a long and storied history, and her presence is tied to the fate of the family she watches over. When someone within the family is near death, the Banshee will appear, usually in the dead of night, to announce the death that is soon to come. What does her cry signify? The Banshee's wail is not just any cry. It is an otherworldly sound, haunting and full of grief. Often described as a lamentation, it can range from a soft, mournful wail to a loud, piercing scream. This cry is said to echo through the night, heard only by those who are meant to understand its meaning. The sound is a supernatural signal, designed to prepare the family for the imminent loss, to allow them time to say their goodbyes, or make their peace. Some say the wail is a reminder of the inevitability of death, a reminder that no matter how strong or noble, every life must come to an end. Others suggest that the Banshee's cry is not only a warning, but also an expression of her grief, as she mourns the passing of someone from the family she has watched over for so long. The Banshee's origin as a Side links her directly to the otherworld, a place where the souls of the dead reside, and where the boundary between the living and the deceased is paper thin. The Celts believed that death was not an end, but a transition, a passage from one realm to the next. The Banshee in her role as a spirit is part of that transition. She stands between life and death, between the world of the living and the world of the dead, acting as a guide for the soul that is about to pass into the afterlife. She is, in a sense, both a guardian and a mourner, forever linked to the families she serves. But while the Banshee is a symbol of death, she's also a figure of respect within Celtic culture. Her appearance is not a random occurrence, but a moment filled with meaning. Her presence demands attention and reflection, as it serves as a reminder that death is a natural part of the cycle of life. The Banshee's wail can be heard as a form of communication from the otherworld, a bridge between the two realms telling those who hear it that a soul is about to cross over. In this way, the Banshee is not just an omen of doom, but a figure that serves to honour and acknowledge the passing of a life. For the Celts, the Banshee's cry was a moment to reflect on the fleeting nature of existence and the continuity of life and death. But how does she appear? What form does this spirit take when she comes to announce the death of a family member? Let's explore the different shapes the Banshee can take, and how her appearance varies, depending on the circumstances of the death she announces. As we venture deeper into the world of the Banshee, it becomes clear that this spirit is no mere ghost. She is a shapeshifter, a being whose form changes depending on the nature of the death she's about to announce. The Banshee, like many figures in Irish folklore, is elusive and multifaceted, her appearance varying based on the circumstances surrounding the soul she watches over. Whether she appears as a beautiful young woman or a decrepit old crone, her presence is always chilling, and her wail is a harbinger of sorrow. The most common depiction of the Banshee is that of a woman, but the specifics of her appearance can differ greatly from one tale to another. In some stories, she's described as an old, haggard woman, her face pale and twisted with grief, her long hair tangled and wild. She's often shown wearing a flowing, tattered gown, a figure that seems to be half hidden in the shadows of the night. Her eyes are said to be bloodshot with an unnatural glow, reflecting the sorrow that has consumed her for centuries as she mourns the inevitable death she is tied to. But the Banshee is not always an old woman. In other stories, she appears as a young, ethereal beauty, a maiden with long, flowing hair and a graceful figure, walking silently through the night. Her beauty is often described as otherworldly, almost hypnotic, yet there is a sadness in her eyes that betrays her true purpose. This youthful appearance can be seen as a reflection of the tragic nature of her role. The Banshee is, after all, a being caught between life and death, forever existing in a state of mourning for those who have yet to pass on. In some accounts, the Banshee's form is not fully visible. She's a shadow, a figure draped in a dark cloak or veil. The ambiguity of her appearance adds to the terror surrounding her presence. In these cases, the Banshee is not a figure to be looked upon, but a presence to be felt, an aura of sorrow that fills the air and causes the hairs on the back of one's neck to stand on end. Her form is often shrouded in mist, her face hidden behind a veil of darkness, her features barely discernible as she moves through the night. Regardless of the form she takes, the Banshee is always accompanied by her chilling wail, the sound of her grief, the sound of a woman mourning the loss of a soul. But why does the Banshee appear in so many different forms? What do these varying depictions of the spirit mean? In Irish mythology, appearances are often linked to the emotions and intentions behind them. The Banshee's changing form reflects the emotional weight of the death she is mourning. If the death is peaceful, the Banshee may appear as a gentle, sorrowful figure, her beauty reflecting the serene passing of a loved one. If the death is violent or tragic, her form may become more terrifying, her features contorted in anguish, and her wail sharp and piercing, echoing the chaos of the soul's departure. The Banshee's appearance, however, is not just about the emotion surrounding death. It is also tied to the family she is connected to. Some legends say that the Banshee takes on the form of an ancestor from the family she serves, appearing as a deceased relative, a familiar face that calls forth the spirit's connection to the past. In this way, the Banshee is a link between the living and the dead, a reminder of the family's ancestry and the continuous cycle of life and death. Her changing form reflects the deep ties she has to the family lineage and her role as a spiritual guardian. But what of the sound she makes? The wail that accompanies her presence? The Banshee's wail is said to vary depending on the nature of the death she announces. Some legends describe her wail as a soft, sorrowful cry, a sound that seems to carry the weight of centuries of mourning. Others speak of a more intense, blood-curdling scream, a terrifying cry that echoes across the land, warning those who hear it of the terrible fate that is about to unfold. The form the Banshee takes may influence the tone of her wail, but no matter the form, her cry is always a signal that death is near, and that the veil between this world and the next is about to be crossed. In the next part of our journey, we will look at the most famous stories and historical accounts of the Banshee. From noble families like the O'Briens to the O'Neills, the Banshee's presence has been documented for centuries. We'll explore some of the most well-known tales of the Banshee's wail and the chilling accounts from those who claim to have heard it firsthand. Can the Banshee truly predict death, or is she simply a figure of folklore, a warning passed down through the ages? Let's uncover the truth in the next part of our journey. As we journey deeper into the legend of the Banshee, it's time to explore the stories and historical accounts that have kept her legend alive across generations. The Banshee is not just a figure in mythology, she is also part of Ireland's living history. Over the centuries, numerous families and individuals have claimed to have heard her haunting wail, marking the death of a loved one or a prominent member of society. These stories have been passed down through oral tradition, and while they vary, they all share one chilling commonality. The Banshee's cry is a signal of death. One of the most well-known tales of the Banshee comes from the O'Brien family, one of Ireland's oldest and most respected noble families. According to legend, the O'Brien family was visited by a Banshee who would appear whenever death was near. The Banshee's wail was said to echo through the night, warning the family that someone within their line was about to pass. In one particularly eerie account, the Banshee's cry was heard before the death of a member of the O'Brien family, and the family reported seeing her appear as a figure draped in a dark cloak, her face obscured by shadows. After the death, the family claimed that the Banshee's presence was felt for weeks, her sorrowful wail lingering in the air as though she was mourning the loss of a beloved relative. Similarly, the O'Neill family, another noble house of Ireland, has its own Banshee story. It is said that the O'Neills were visited by a Banshee who would appear whenever one of the family was nearing death. Her cry was described as a high-pitched, wailing scream, a mournful sound that echoed through the hills surrounding their estate. According to the legend, the Banshee's appearance was particularly notable because she was said to take on the appearance of a woman from the family's past, a lost ancestor whose spirit lingered on to watch over the living members of the clan. It is said that her cry was heard just before the death of several prominent members of the O'Neill family, each time signalling the arrival of a soul into the afterlife. For the O'Neills, the Banshee's wail was not something to fear but something to acknowledge, as it was seen as a sign that death was not the end, but merely the next step in the eternal cycle. But it's not just noble families that claim to have experienced the Banshee's visit. Across the rural villages and quiet towns of Ireland, many common folk have reported hearing her wail as well. In some stories, the Banshee is said to appear to the families of farmers or tradespeople, her cry reaching them in the dead of night, long before the death is confirmed. These accounts often speak of her wail being heard only by the immediate family of the deceased, but the chilling nature of the sound would leave a lasting impression on those who heard it. There are stories of people waking from a deep sleep, only to hear the Banshee's cry, reverberating through their home, signalling that someone they loved would soon be lost. In some cases, the Banshee has even been described as appearing before a death that occurs far away from home, with her cry reaching across distances to warn the family. The stories vary in the specifics, but the consistent theme is that the Banshee is not simply a random apparition. She is deeply connected to the family she watches over. Her role as a spirit of death is intertwined with the idea of family lineage and ancestral ties. Whether or not you believe in the Banshee's power, her presence is seen as a reflection of the Celtic belief in the spiritual connection between the living and the dead, a bond that extends through the generations and across the realms of life and death. While the tales of the Banshee's visitations may seem like folklore, many have claimed to experience her presence firsthand. There are historical accounts of individuals, particularly in the rural parts of Ireland, who have testified to hearing the wail at moments of personal loss. For these individuals, the Banshee is not a mere myth. She is a real, tangible figure in the life of their families, someone who foretells the passing of those they hold dear. But how does the Banshee know when death is near? Is her wail a supernatural power, a gift of foresight that allows her to predict the inevitable? Or is there something more at play here? A deep connection between the living and the spirits of the past that allows the Banshee to sense when someone is about to pass. To explore this further, we must understand the deeper significance of the Banshee's cry, her ability to transcend time and space, and how this wail serves as both a warning and a reminder of the cyclical nature of life. In our next part, we will dive into the meaning behind the Banshee's wail. What does it truly represent, and what are its implications? Is it just a sign of doom? Or does it hold a greater truth about the nature of death and the spirits that dwell between worlds? Let's continue to unravel the mystery in the next chapter of our journey. The Banshee's wail is not just a sound, it is a powerful, supernatural signal, In the silence of the night, when the world is still, her cry is a warning that cuts through the air, unmistakable and deeply unsettling. But what exactly does her wail mean? Is it just the cry of a sorrowful spirit, or is there something more profound lurking within the sound? To understand the Banshee's wail is to understand her role in the grand cycle of life and death, and the way in which the living and the dead are interconnected in Celtic thought. For centuries, the wail of the Banshee has been said to announce the death of a family member or loved one. The cry is more than a mere noise. It is an omen, a signal that something irreversible is about to happen. In the Celtic belief system, death was not something to be feared, but something to be understood as part of the natural order. The Banshee's wail serves as a reminder that death is ever present, lurking just beyond the veil of life, and it is through this sound that she draws attention to the fleeting nature of mortality. The nature of the Banshee's wail can vary, depending on the circumstances surrounding the death she is warning about. In some instances, her cry is described as soft and mournful, a sad, drawn-out lament that expresses the sorrow of both the living and the dead. This quieter cry may signal the peaceful passing of an elderly person or a long-expected death. In contrast, other accounts describe her wail as a sharp, blood-curdling scream, one that pierces the stillness of the night and sends a shock of terror into the hearts of those who hear it. This type of wail is said to precede violent, untimely or tragic deaths, and its intensity is matched by the suddenness of the loss. In either form, the wail of the Banshee is more than just a cry of grief. It is a deeply spiritual and symbolic sound. It is said that the Banshee's wail is not just a sign of physical death, but a reflection of the emotional weight of the passing. Her cry encapsulates the grief of the living and the sorrow of the spirit world. It is the merging of two realms, the world of the living, with its tangible mortal concerns, and the world of the dead, with its timeless, eternal truths. The Banshee is not simply mourning the loss of one soul, but also reflecting the ongoing cycle of life and death that binds all living things together. The Banshee's wail is also seen as a call to action for those who hear it. It is a reminder to cherish the time we have, to say goodbye to those we love before it is too late, and to understand that death is not something that can be avoided or delayed indefinitely. It forces us to face the reality of mortality head-on, urging us to prepare ourselves for the inevitable loss that will come to us all. Her wail serves as a final, poignant reminder of the impermanence of life and the need to appreciate the fleeting moments we have. But while the Banshee's wail is a symbol of death, it is also a reminder of the cyclical nature of life. In Celtic mythology, death is not the end. It is simply a transition, a crossing over into another world, where the soul continues its journey. The Banshee, as a spirit of the otherworld, is not merely there to announce the end of a life, but to guide the departed soul across the threshold. She's a figure of mourning, yes, but also one of care, ensuring that the passage from this world to the next is made with respect and dignity. In this way, the Banshee's wail is not just a curse, but also a sacred sound, a sound that connects the living to the dead, that helps keep the balance between the two worlds intact. Her cry is not to be feared, but acknowledged, for it represents the inevitable truth that death is an integral part of the cycle of life. In the next part of our journey, we will explore the impact the Banshee has had on culture and the arts, and how her wail has inspired countless works of literature, music, and art over the centuries. How has the Banshee's haunting cry been portrayed in the media and literature, and how has it shaped our collective understanding of death? Let's dive into the cultural legacy of the Banshee, and see how she continues to inspire, intrigue, and haunt us. The Banshee is not just a spectral figure tied to ancient legends. She has evolved into a powerful symbol, woven into the fabric of Western culture. Over the centuries, the Banshee's wail has echoed through not only Irish folklore, but also art, literature, and popular media, becoming an enduring symbol of death and the unknown. Her influence can be seen across a wide range of artistic expressions, from poetry to painting, music to cinema, as she has left an indelible mark on how we think about the supernatural and the cycle of life and death. In literature, the Banshee has served as a figure of both fear and fascination. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, writers began to incorporate her into their works, capitalizing on her eerie cry and her connection to the spiritual world. In many stories, the Banshee appears as a dark and ominous omen, a figure who presides over the death of key characters or whose appearance signals a dramatic turning point in the plot. Her wail, with its haunting tone, has been described as the ultimate warning, a sound that evokes a deep, primal fear. Whether as a distant voice heard in the night, or as a figure who appears in person, the Banshee is often used to signify impending doom, and her cry sets the tone for moments of darkness and loss. The Banshee also found a place in poetry, where her haunting cry was used to convey the sorrow of death and the inescapability of fate. Poets have described her wail as a tragic, mournful sound, echoing the grief of the living and the spirits. Her presence in these works is often one of both beauty and horror. Her cry is a sweet sorrow, a reminder of the fragility of life and the certainty of death. The Banshee in poetry embodies the complex relationship between the living and the dead, offering a unique insight into how we process grief and loss. In the realm of visual arts, the Banshee has been portrayed in countless paintings and illustrations. Artists drawn to the mysterious and supernatural aspects of Irish folklore have depicted the Banshee as a figure cloaked in shadow, her long hair flowing wildly in the wind as she cries out in agony. These depictions capture the duality of the Banshee, the fear she evokes and the sorrow she represents. The Banshee has often been painted against bleak, stormy backdrops, her form blending into the mist or the shadows of ancient trees, her wail seeming to echo across the canvas. This imagery plays into the Banshee's association with the otherworld, where death is not an end but a transformation, a journey into the unknown. Perhaps most fascinating of all is the Banshee's impact on popular culture. Over time, her image has evolved, and she has appeared in modern-day horror films, books, and even video games. In these newer interpretations, the Banshee's role as a harbinger of death remains unchanged, though her appearance and the context of her cry have adapted to suit contemporary fears and narratives. In some stories, the Banshee has been reimagined as a more malevolent spirit, one who actively causes death rather than merely warning of it. Her wail is no longer just a signal of impending doom, but a supernatural force that can manipulate fate itself. The Banshee's transformation in modern media reflects our changing relationship with death, from a natural, inevitable force to a darker, more malevolent entity that lurks in the shadows, waiting to claim its victims. But the Banshee's cultural impact is not limited to the realm of storytelling and art. Her story has also played a significant role in shaping our understanding of grief, death, and the afterlife. In Irish culture, the Banshee was not seen solely as a terrifying figure but also as a guardian of the dead, a being that mourned and respected the passing of a soul. The Banshee's role, in a way, mirrors the Irish tradition of keening, the practice of wailing and mourning loudly at a loved one's death. This ritual, performed by women in the community, was a way to honour the deceased, to give voice to grief, and to guide the soul of the departed into the afterlife. The Banshee, then, is more than just a ghostly figure. She's an embodiment of this sacred mourning tradition, a spirit who helps to guide souls and mark the passage from life to death. Her influence extends beyond Ireland too. In cultures around the world, similar spirits, figures who announce death with a mournful cry, appear in various forms. One of the most notable parallels is with La Llorona, the weeping woman of Latin American folklore, who also mourns the death of loved ones and has been linked to tragic, untimely deaths. Like the Banshee, La Llorona's cry is a harbinger of doom, a reminder of the power of grief and the inevitability of death. These spirits, though distinct in their cultural context, share the same role. They serve as messengers between the worlds of the living and the dead, guiding souls and ensuring that the passage from one world to the other is acknowledged. As we move forward, it's clear that the Banshee's role in folklore and culture is more than just a haunting tale. She is a symbol of our deepest fears and our greatest truths, a reflection of the inevitability of death and the importance of family and ancestry. Her cry echoes through time, reminding us of our connection to those who have passed and the certainty of our own eventual journey into the next world. In the next part, we will look at how the Banshee's presence continues to impact the psyche of those who believe in her, how her wail affects the living, and the psychological impact she has on families who hear her cry. Does the Banshee's presence lead to fear, or is it a comfort to those who are left behind? Let's explore the psychological effects of hearing the Banshee's cry and what it truly means to experience her haunting presence. The Banshee's wail is not only a supernatural warning, it also leaves a deep psychological imprint on those who hear it. Her cry, a sound that transcends the earthly realm, carries with it an emotional weight that affects the living in profound ways. To hear the Banshee's wail is to confront the inevitable truth of death, and for those who experience it, the impact is felt long after the sound has faded into the night. For many, the Banshee's cry evokes a primal fear. There is something unsettling about hearing a voice from the other side, a sound that is so full of grief and sorrow that it stirs something deep within the listener. The fear is not just of death itself, but of the unknown, of what lies beyond the veil that separates the living from the dead. The Banshee's wail is the sound of that boundary being breached, the moment when the living and the dead become aware of one another. It is a reminder that, no matter how much we try to control or deny it, death is a force that we cannot escape. For many, the fear of the Banshee's cry is tied to the anxiety that death itself causes. Her wail is an audible manifestation of that fear, a sound that cannot be ignored no matter how much we wish to push it away. But the Banshee's cry is not always a source of terror. For some, her wail is a form of mourning, a recognition of the inevitable passage of time and the loss of loved ones. In many ways, the Banshee is a figure of empathy, her wail a reflection of the sorrow felt by those who remain behind. The grief that accompanies the Banshee's cry is not just for the deceased, but for the living as well. It serves as a reminder to honour those who have passed, to grieve openly and fully, and to acknowledge the emotional weight of loss. In Celtic tradition, mourning the dead was a communal experience. The practice of keening, or loud lamenting for the deceased, was an important part of the grieving process. The Banshee's wail is thought to echo this tradition, a public expression of sorrow and a recognition of the deep emotional bond that ties families together. In this sense, the Banshee is a figure who helps the living process their grief, offering a channel through which mourning can flow. Her cry marks the beginning of the grieving process, giving those who hear it an opportunity to prepare themselves emotionally for the loss that is to come. The presence of the Banshee, then, while fearsome, can also be seen as a form of comfort, a recognition that death is not something to be feared, but something that must be faced. The psychological impact of hearing the Banshee's wail is also tied to the idea of fate. In many stories, the Banshee's cry is an unavoidable signal that death is coming, and there is nothing that can be done to change it. This sense of inevitability can be both comforting and unsettling. On one hand, knowing that death is part of the natural cycle can bring a sense of peace, as it means that death is not something that can be avoided forever. On the other hand, it can stir anxiety and a sense of helplessness, as the Banshee's wail reminds us of how little control we have over the course of our lives. This duality, the comfort and the fear, is at the heart of the Banshee's impact. She's both a figure of mourning and a figure of fate, showing us the ways in which grief and destiny are intertwined. Moreover, the Banshee's role as a spiritual guide cannot be overlooked. While she is most commonly seen as an omen of death, her function goes beyond that of a mere messenger. In Celtic belief, death was not the end, but a transformation, a crossing over into the other world. The Banshee, as a spirit connected to both the living and the dead, serves as a guide for souls on their journey to the afterlife. Her wail, then, can be seen as both a mourning cry and a farewell. It is a sound that acknowledges the passing of a loved one, but also marks the soul's transition from one realm to another. For those who believe in the Banshee, her cry represents the closure of a life, but it also signals the beginning of a new journey, one that is embraced by the other world. As we reflect on the Banshee's psychological impact, it becomes clear that she is not just a figure of fear, but a complex and multifaceted spirit who serves both as a warning and a guide. Her wail brings with it the weight of mortality, but it also offers an opportunity for reflection and connection. Whether we fear her or find comfort in her presence, the Banshee remains a reminder that death is not an isolated event, but a part of the greater cycle of life. Now that we've explored the Banshee's psychological effects, let us reflect on her lasting legacy in both Irish culture and beyond. In the next part, we will summarise her journey from a figure of folklore to a symbol that transcends cultural boundaries, and explore how her legend continues to shape the way we view death, loss, and the afterlife. What does the Banshee's enduring legacy mean for us today, and how can we continue to honour the lessons she imparts? Let's delve into the lasting impact of the Banshee in the modern world.